The following day, I left a neatly written note behind at the inn for anyone who may have been wondering where I was headed. I departed from my old house in Edo. Hijikata-san had left long before me to meet with several members of the shogunate elite. No one had apparently visited the house in several years, and everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. Now, where would he keep his fury research? It must be somewhere hidden. I brushed some of the dust off a stack of documents and opened them up. Each one was covered in barely legible scribbles. It would take me forever to decipher them. No, there was nothing compared to what the rest of the Shinsengumi went through. I had to do it. Shoot. I guess that wasn't it either. I sat back on the floor and sighed heavily as my eyes drooped to look at the dusty, unkempt floor. How foolish I'd been to think I could waltz into my house, find my father's secret documents, and solve something that had plagued the Shinsengumi for years. No. I couldn't give up. I had to keep trying. Sooner or later, I'd find something. Hijikata-san and Heisuke needed my help. I had to find something. From the corner of my eye, I noticed an earmarked fold in the stack. Huh? As I flipped open a particularly thick sheaf of papers, a small stack fell out and landed on the floor as a cloud of dust floated from its landing place. It appeared to be some kind of... Was it a formula? Is this about the Furies? As I studied it, I realized what I found. The paper described a medicine that could suppress the Furies' bloodlust, keeping them from losing control. The idea of Hijikata-san or Heisuke losing control was frightening, but I read on. It seemed that my father had returned to Edo just after I left for Kyo. While he was in Edo, he'd mixed up the ingredients for the medicine. I looked over the instructions. The ingredients he'd used were likely still in the warehouse. With his instructions, I should be able to mix it myself. It shouldn't take too long, right? And with my father's medicine, I could save Hijikata-san, Heisuke, and Sanan-san. I was going to seize this opportunity to help them. I ran to the warehouse and got to work. Come hell or high water, I would finish this. By the time I finished, night had already fallen, and moonlight peeked through a sliver of open window. I remembered what Shimada told me about how many murderers there'd been at night lately, and I stuck to busy streets as I made my way back to the Kama Inn. Just as I arrived, Sanan-san and Heisuke were leaving. Their backs were turned away from me, so I called out to them to make sure they hear me. Sanan-san!
おや、ずいぶん遅いお帰りですね。物騒ですから、夜一人で出歩くのは控えた方がいいですよ。
I'm sorry. I meant to come back earlier, but I was so busy, and I just kind of lost track of time, and... Anyway, I got something for you. I handed Sanan-san the medicine, which I'd wrapped in a small piece of paper.
これは?
It's medicine to suppress the Fury bloodlust. I went back to my house today and found instructions for how to make it. It should make the pain go away, at least for a little while. He looked down at the paper I handed him, then back to me. Sanan-san bit his lip coyly before looking into my eyes.
お返しします。気持ちはありがたいですが、私には必要ありません。
Huh? Wait, but without it, you...
我々の吸血衝動は薬などで抑えられるものではありません。抑えれば抑えるほど苦しみは増し、正気を削られていくだけ。こんな薬は気休めでしかありません。 失礼。これから市中を見回ってまいりますので、これで。
Before I could protest, he was gone, walking briskly down the dim, open street. Without the medicine, what would San do when the bloodlust came? To not only acknowledge but accept this insatiable craving as a part of one's life seemed beyond me. Oh no. I remembered what Kimigiku had said to us back at the Fushimi Magistrate's office.
では、あなたたち新選組の羅刹が見回りと称して辻斬りをしているのはご存知ですか?
No, it couldn't be. It was the Shinsengumi's job to protect Hyo and its citizens. Surely Sana-san wouldn't attack people on the street just to satisfy his thirst for blood.
千鶴、俺はその薬飲むよ。くれるか?
Hi, of course. They handed him the packet Sanan-san had so recently refused. He stuffed it into his pocket as he started off down the street as Sanan-san's rapidly retreating back.
今日は俺も見回りについていく。もし三男さんがおかしな真似をしようとしたら、全力で止めるから心配すんなよ。
Alright, I'm counting on you, Heisuke. Oh, right. Where's Hijikata-san? Is he back yet?
いや、夕方頃に戻ってきたはずだけど、ずっと部屋にこもりっきりだぜ。
That's weird. Oh. I'm going to go check on him then. Heisuke and I said our quick goodbyes, and I made my way to the Kame Inn and up to Hijikata-san's room. I was hoping that the wave of anxiety I was feeling was a needless one, but I had a very bad feeling about something as I called out to him from behind the sliding door. Hijikata-san, are you there? I've got something for you. Nothing. I was about to turn away, assuming he was asleep, when the suppressed voice was clearly in pain. Hijikata-san? I'm coming in! I slit the door open and ran into the room. He was bent over on top of his desk at the back of the room. Sweat poured down his face, and I could hear his teeth squeak horribly as he gritted them. He looked... Hijikata-san! Are you okay? I rushed over by his side.
バカ野郎! 大声を出すんじゃねえ!
But...
こんなもん、すぐ収まるに決まってんじゃねえか。くだらねえことで騒ぎ立てるな。
He wrapped his arms around his shoulders and squeezed until his knuckles turned white as he glared up at me. His breath came in pants and he shivered violently. It was Hijikata-san's personality to refuse to show any pain or even any emotion at all, or at least to show as little as possible. For him to be like this, the pain must have been unimaginable. Was this the bloodlust that Heisuke had spoken of? What was I supposed to do? If he drank the medicine my father had created, then the pain would likely go away, but Sanan-san had said it would only be a temporary solution. Then, should I give him some of my blood? Would Hijikata-san even want me to give him my blood? What was I going to do? Well, as we have learned from all the other ones, we gotta give him my blood. There was no time to waste. It wasn't the best plan, perhaps, but I couldn't bear to see him in pain any longer. And besides, at long last I would finally be useful. That's not a way to see yourself, Chizuru! Hijikata-san shook fiercely, and I could only gaze in horror as I imagined how unbearable the pain was. I said nothing and threw the kodachi I kept at my waist.
何しやがる!
I slid my fingers along the edge of the blade, which I barely felt. A bead of thick blood formed over the cut. Please, drink my blood. It'll make you feel better, right?
何言ってやがる。そんな真似ができるか。
His clothes were drenched in sweat, and he shook like a leaf being swept by the wind. This was it. I couldn't back down. This was my chance to do something for him, to make a difference. But perhaps most importantly, I just couldn't watch him suffer anymore. Don't worry about me. Please. I begged him desperately as I offered him my fingers oozing out with blood. Though he tried to resist, his eyes were drawn to my finger, to the thick red blood that slowly beaded and dropped. He balled his fist tightly, but he couldn't resist.
バカなことしやがる。嫁入り前の女が自分の肌に傷をつけるもんじゃねえ。
Then he licked the blood from my finger. I felt the soft caress of his tongue as it ran the length of the cut. Then, the soft pressure of his teeth and lips as he sucked gently, drawing a few more drops out and into his mouth. I'll be fine. I'm a demon. I'll heal really fast.
関係あるかよ。鬼だろうがなんだろうが、お前が女だってことに変わりはねえ。
His breathing had already begun to calm itself. Through his hand on my wrist, I could feel his shaking subsiding as well. At last, I thought, I was able to be useful. A few moments later, his hand slipped from my wrist. The cut on my finger had already healed. The split in the flesh began to seal before my eyes, and I stood quietly as Hijikata-san winced. I'm sorry for being so, forward. I bowed to him.
いや、
He took a quiet breath and shook his head. A sense of calm seemed to emerge from him.
痩せ我慢してる場合じゃねえってことは俺もよくわかってるんだ。近藤さんを負けさせねえためには化け物にでもなるしかねえんだよな。
Absently, I touched my fingers to the risk Hijikata-san had taken when he drank my blood. A peculiar feeling lingered on the surface of my skin. It was almost as though I could still feel his warmth there. I think that's a good place to stop.